95% of my income comes from crypto. That has given me financial freedom, and I live an amazing life that really has the title freedom. How long have I been doing that? I dove heavily into crypto about 2 years ago, made all the mistakes you can possibly think of, but that is really good for you because now I can teach you what to avoid and how to do it right. I've been teaching since January of 2025. What is possible? What kind of numbers can you achieve? Here you see my entries from the 6 past days. You can see that on average, I generate about 0.7, 0.8% daily. And that is very nice. If you look in the total profit column, that is my daily income. And on the left hand side, you see the capital needed to make this work. Is it beginner friendly? Doing this is, of course, not beginner friendly, but I have done everything possible to create a course that is actually beginner friendly and takes you from not even knowing how to buy crypto to being confident in investing into the crypto markets. You have to invest an initial 10 hours. That's about the length of the course. It's pre recorded. And then you have the opportunity to come to live office hours into Zoom sessions to ask me questions. So you have to ease into that journey. Most likely, you will not immediately be comfortable to deploy $80,000. But what I recommend is going through the course and then slowly increasing the amount of money you put into crypto. Of course, understanding that crypto is and remains high risk investing. And in the worst case scenario, you could lose it all. That is very important to know. So it is important that you take your time and ease into this. Is now a good time to start? Absolutely. However, you have to be aware of the certain phases in the market cycle of crypto. We have a bull run phase where all the prices of assets increase, and then we have a bear market phase where all the prices of the assets decrease. Now, you can make money in both phases, but the strategies are very different. And also, it depends a lot on your time investment horizon. So, for instance, are you looking at your crypto as what kind of cash can I have immediately? Or are you looking at your crypto as in what kind of wealth can I generate over the next 5 to 10 years? It may also be, as it is in my case, a hybrid situation where I want cash flow to fund my life, but I also want to build up generational wealth so that I can have an amazing retirement. It is definitely a good time for you to start learning this now and become very much aware of where we are in the cycle so that you can apply the correct strategy that matches your investment time horizon. Do you need a laptop to do this? Not necessarily everything I teach can be done on a smartphone. However, people do find it easier to consume the course on a laptop. Do you teach how to set up the funds to start investing? Absolutely. By the end of the course, you will know exactly which tools I use to invest in the exact same manner that I do to generate my daily cash flow. How fast can I expect to see the daily yield on the initial investment? As I said, I think you should give yourself at least 1 to 2 weeks to go through the course material and then ease into it. Once you have gone through the course, you will have the knowledge to place your investments and see the yield immediately. However, is a very important aspect in the way I teach the crypto cash flow method is that the yield is something you can withdraw daily, but you have the majority of your money sitting as working capital, and that net amount fluctuates heavily depending on the day and depending on what the market does. So if you have, for instance, $100,000 that you invest, it's very possible that on day one it says $100,000, on day two it says $120,000, on day three it drops to 90, day four it drops to 80, and then it goes back to 100. You have to be comfortable with seeing that money as a very volatile position. It's not about how much is the worth of your entire capital. It is about how much yield can you withdraw daily to live, which is why I call it cash flow. I also know how to just go for capital appreciation if you plan for the long run. But I have found that for people who want to have a daily income and who need to have income fast, it is better psychologically to apply the cash flow method. How much can I make? That is a question that I often get. As I said, there are three different phases in the markets. There is the bull market, which we are currently in. So, in during that time, most people, I would say, can generate about 0.5% daily on the capital. Then, when we have a sideways market or an average performance, I'd say 0.3% daily. And then in a bear market, it's more realistic to look at 0.1% daily, which that is still very powerful, of course, if you compare it to traditional investment methods. So in this example, we have an initial working capital of $100,000. It's always wise to have a certain part of your capital as a hedge, meaning it helps you protect against the market going down. And you learn that as well. So, that depending on where we are in the market cycle, you want to have anywhere between 10 to 25% set aside. So, I'm just going to set it to 25% right now. And then the recompounding rate here, that is the money that you actually don't withdraw daily, but that you put back into the pot so that your working capital keeps growing. So if I said a reserve of 25% and a recompounding rate of, let's set it to 25, then here you can see what to expect in a bull run. Essentially, you would have a gross daily yield of $375, and then you would recompound $93, and your daily cash flow would be 281. So that gives you a monthly cash flow of $8,437, which is quite nice. Now let's look at the market scenario comparison. That is very important. So we are currently in the bull market. So $100,000 can get you a monthly cash flow of 8,437. But just be aware that when this is not an if, this is when the bear market kicks in, this will transition to the lower amount. So your monthly income drops to 5K, and then in the deepest bear market, it may also only generate $1,500, which is again still good if you think about getting 0.1% daily on capital. That is very good. It is important to apply the right strategies as we go into the transition from bull run to bear market. It's very important that we do not let our working capital dwindle too much. So there is timing and strategy connected to all of this. And that's, of course, also something I teach, and that is also closely monitored in our private Telegram community. It's very important that those $100,000, to the degree that it is possible, remain $100,000 and don't dwindle down to 30,000, because the yield is basically generated on other people's trading volume and your capital available to the market. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, with this calculator, you will, of course, be able to project and plan a little bit to see how much money do I need to meet my income goals. Understanding, again, I have to repeat this, that what we are doing here goes into the high risk category of investing. And you really have to make sure that it is the right approach for you. So, how much time does it take to do all of this? Honestly, I would say it's about 15 to 20 minutes every day that it takes me to do it, but it will take you a little bit longer. And here's why: is because you will have decision paralysis. It's also because you will be very nervous about moving so much money around and about making mistakes. You will be doubting what you've learned, is all very normal, but in order to combat that, we have our Telegram community. Yeah, so hopefully this answers your questions. If you have any more, please put them in the comments below so I can answer every question that you have to find out if this is the right approach for you. Also, if you see this video and you'd rather start with some free information, I have a free course that you can access here on the crypto.lifestyle. For now, I hope this video has helped you and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.